Go.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Don Bautista. I am with the AC Friends of Court, and welcome to Dear British Columbians. This is a series of interviews with the heads of the various courts and tribunals in our province. AC Friends of Court continues to serve the public, complete their legal forms during these days, and the one thing that's come across is how very stressed they are. And so we wanted to take this opportunity to have the various heads address the public, to tell them what's going on, what they're doing to take care of their interests. We're very pleased today to have the chair of the Civil Resolution Tribunal, Shannon Salter, as our first guest. Thanks, Shannon, for being with us this morning. And I think the best place to start is for you to just address the public, to tell them what you're doing to help them. And if we can talk to them about generally how the CRT works, because in your model, the presence of a lawyer is not something that's really done. Shannon?
Thanks, Dom, and thanks for the invitation to help communicate with people about what the CRT is doing and the kind of tools that are available to help people during this very difficult, challenging time. So the Civil Resolution Tribunal has jurisdiction over strata property disputes, small claims under $5,000, and most motor vehicle disputes, as well as society and nonprofit disputes as well. So if you have any one of those kinds of disputes, you can come to the tribunal. And our first step is to give you free legal information and tools, ideally to help you solve the problem on your own. Go talk to that neighbor who you're having a conflict with, or renegotiate with your financial institution if you owe a debt. If that doesn't work, you can file an application for dispute resolution. And then we really focus hard on helping you through collaborative dispute resolution to settle your dispute. So we help you negotiate. If that doesn't work, we'll help you mediate. And then as a last resort, your file will go in front of an adjudicator, a tribunal member, who will make a binding decision in court order. And you can do that entire process on your smartphone if you want to. And we also offer telephone service and mail service as well. Understandably, in the pandemic, and even before the pandemic, the vast majority of people were picking online services. So about 99.9% of people choose to go through the whole process on their smartphone, wherever they happen to be, whenever it works for them. But those other offline services are also available, aside from in-person help at the moment, if somebody's not able to use technology right now.
So for the public, our heads of courts and tribunals are just unseen. And they are unheard. And this series allows them to speak unfiltered. And going forward, I hope you get a chance to hear what they have to say. So in crafting these interviews, there were really just three goals that we had in mind. The first was to inform the public of their planning and thinking behind their planning, to tell the public how they're working to even the playing field. And third, to share their reflections on what they're learning now that might be important to continue after the pandemic. So the first question is, what lessons have you learned from the pandemic in terms of how you and your officials carry out your responsibilities to the public?
Well, I'll back up and say that we were very fortunate and lucky to primarily be a remote tribunal anyway. So about 75% of our staff and tribunal members were already working from home. And then around mid-March, we shifted to make sure everybody was working from home within a week or so, to make sure we're protecting both the health of our staff and tribunal members, but also the public, and to ensure that we could continue to provide online services. So because of that, we've remained open. We're fully operational. We've had no downtime. And so also because of that, it's allowed us to really spend 100% of our energy focused on the needs of the public that we serve. Because we didn't really skip a beat, we immediately pivoted to thinking about how the pandemic might affect the parties who appear before us, and think about steps that we could take to lift that burden from them to the extent that we can within our jurisdiction. So some of the things that we immediately implemented were letting people know that if they need an extension of time for filing their dispute or responding to their dispute, that they could just send us an email. and we would and let us know that that was related to COVID-19, and we could provide that extension via email. So try to make it a very simple process, which is our ethos generally. We generally try to make everything as simple as possible, but letting people know who are very stressed out, as you say, who are facing all kinds of economic and health challenges, that if their CRT dispute wasn't top of mind at the moment, all they needed to do was to send us an email to get an extension of time. And we've been continuing to do that. The other thing that we're doing is we know that people are being impacted economically from COVID-19. We also know that that economic impact may not be apparent yet on their tax forms or in their annual income. So we have a really simple fee waiver form for people with a low income. But even for people who don't qualify under that really simple process, we also have discretion to offer fee waivers in other circumstances. So we're inviting people, if they are impacted by COVID-19, but they don't yet meet the low income cutoff, but they know that their finances are being impacted, they can also ask for a fee waiver, and we will evaluate that and let them know. So an extension of our fee waiver discretion and extending deadlines are two of the ways that we're able to help people. There's also been a ministerial order passed by the government that suspends the limitation period for courts. One thing to know about tribunals is that that doesn't automatically apply to tribunals. We are able to suspend or press a pause on the limitation period, but only for the duration of the state of emergency declaration. So if somebody is reaching the end of their limitation period, then we'd encourage them to get in touch with us if they need an extension of time or for us to suspend that period at this point.
Thank you for that. I can tell you, and I think I must have shared this with you and to the public, I want you to know when AC does its virtual services, I think I must have abused my relationship with you, because you're almost always on standby because I've always got a question. So I want to thank you for that. And secondly, I think I also shared this with you. The last time we ran a service, which was about a week ago, half of the clients were CRT clients. And I don't know what the load has been like these days. Have you seen sort of an increase, or is it sort of holding steady?
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you, Dom, and thank Amici Curiae because of the service that you provide to support and help people. We design the CRT process to be as easy to use as possible, but we know that there are some folks who still will need support and help. And so we try to make ourselves as available as possible, not just to you, but also to all of the advocates who we depend on to provide that support. And we want to make it easy to get the information that you need to allow clients to go through the process. Secondly, yes, we have noticed a dip in the number of disputes that we're receiving. As I said, we remain open. So we're a good kind of baseline for how the pandemic might be impacting people's ability to file disputes right now. And week after week, we're getting and tracking statistics on the number of claims that are coming through the door. Normally, in an average week, we might get about 130 disputes, and we reached a low of about 75 towards the middle to end of March. But that's ticking back up now. So we're at about 80% of baseline. And I think that is consistent with the idea that people are starting to kind of come into a bit of a new normal and turning their attention to other things. But we wanted to make sure that we are getting the word out that we are still open and operating normally. And we're also looking forward into the future to try to identify areas where there may be an increase in a kind of dispute as a result of COVID-19 related issues, to get ahead of that in terms of how we establish processes or amend our existing processes or allocate resources to make it easier for people when the time comes.
Good. Let me move on to the second sort of questions. Technology should not be a hurdle, an access to justice hurdle, but it very well seems to be these days. So I wanted to sort of say, you know, your system has been designed to be, you know, online, technology-based. But for those who cannot use a computer, i.e. to submit their claims, and with trusted intermediaries like libraries closed, are there other ways that they can send materials to you?
Yeah, so our goal is not to use technology for everything. Technology is just one tool that we use to increase access to justice because by and large, most people have access to it. But as a part of the public justice system, it's our job to make sure nobody falls through the cracks. And so we also offer service by telephone, by mail, and also previous to the pandemic, in person through 60 Service BC points around the province. In the absence of in-person help, though, people can still get telephone assistance by calling us, and we can help them fill out forms and complete processes and answer questions. We can also, and we are continuing to accept documents by mail as well. What we found so far, though, is that about 99.9% of people are choosing online service because we encourage the use of helpers, like the helpers that you have as your volunteers, but also trusted friends or family members or neighbors. And so what we see a lot is people being able to have their friends or family member sit on the couch with them and assist them to fill out the form, which is designed to be no more complicated really than ordering something from Amazon. So if anybody does need any additional help, though, we'd encourage them just to reach out, call our toll-free line, and one of our friendly frontline staff will help people through the process. And of course, we also really value the advocates and the supporters like your volunteers who are providing such vital service, especially now.
Thank you. That leads me to think about if you've seen any sort of anything noticeable with respect to people who have, say, strata issues or small claim matters that are victims of gendered violence, and how online dispute resolution has helped in some way or not. Could you sort of tell us what it's been like?
Well, we don't have a jurisdiction over family or criminal matters. And so sometimes those issues do still arise with people who were previously in a relationship who have a small claims issue, or as you say, people living together in a strata. And our staff are trained, especially at the mediation phase, to look for and be able to help identify where they might see power imbalances or duress or stress or anxiety on the parts of the participants, whatever the underlying causes for that. All of our tribunal members also have completed a course in trauma-informed practice and other additional training to help them respond in a trauma-informed manner to issues like that when they arise. We have heard from some advocates that being able to resolve a dispute at a distance and not having to be in the same room as a person who they've in the same room as a person who from whom they've experienced violence has reduced their stress levels and increased their sense of safety. But of course, it's quite a complicated issue. And I think from our perspective, we want to do our very best to make sure there's an even playing field. And part of that is identifying factors that may disrupt that even playing field. And of course, first and foremost, our goal is to make sure that the CRT is a safe place for people, not just during the pandemic, but whatever else might be affecting their safety, to make sure that they're able to participate in a way that's fair.
Thank you. Do you want to talk a little bit about the privacy and safety concerns generally of people using your system?
Well, when we started to think about implementing the tribunal, privacy concerns, especially using technology, but privacy concerns can also arise through mailing things to the wrong place or disclosing accidentally information in an analog form. Privacy is obviously extremely important. We deal with a lot of sensitive information from people. And so we made sure when we were developing the technology that we were using top of the line security protocols. We also have a very rigorous information and privacy policy so that we're informing people about where their information is stored, how it will be treated, who would have access to it. And we do that in a very plain language way because we want people to understand what they're signing on to. So thankfully, I can say that our system has been very secure and has never had a privacy or information breach. And I can also say that our team, our staff members and tribunal members have privacy and security front of mind, of course, when they're dealing with people's information.
I'd like to move on to my third question because we say anecdotally that self-represented litigants are everywhere, and yet during COVID-19, they're nowhere. And your stats confirm what we're seeing on our end. In some of our partners' situations, the no-shows have zoomed up to about 50% when it normally is at about 15%. So we're seeing all this, but of course you cannot escape sort of paying attention to the urgent and non-urgent situation, that struggle that has taken over how the courts are running these days. Yet when you look at the CRT, it's not like that. Is it because, do you see it, it's just because the way you've sort of been engineered as an online piece? And feel free to use the word asynchronous, our favorite words, because then clients can just do it whenever they can and they want to. Tell me, how do you see this urgent, non-urgent? Why has it sort of escaped the CRT?
Well, from its inception, the CRT was designed around users. Dom, we consult with you and lots of other community legal advocates and work to co-design different parts of the tribunal. We really design it around people's lives. Our goal is to bring the justice system to where people are, try to account for the different circumstances they find themselves in, and be able to offer services that are appropriate to that. And I think when you look at that outlook and you look at that design, it works pretty well in a pandemic. I think what we're seeing is that the vast majority of us are now experiencing a bit of a taste of what the people that you serve experience every day. That is to say that building around users accounts for the fact that some people are limited by their need for childcare. They have mobility issues. They may not be able to leave their house easily. They may not be able to travel. They may not be able to get assistance. And so, and they may have economic issues as well. And those are circumstances so many more of us are confronting right now. And so having a system or a part of the justice system that was already designed first and foremost to accommodate those different circumstances has been agile and able to adapt to the fact that just many more of us are encountering those circumstances right now. So bringing the justice system to where people are means allowing them to engage with it in a way that they understand and is convenient and build around their lives. And I think that it's also a big credit to our team that they're very, very committed to being able to continue to offer those services throughout this time. And I know, of course, every part of the justice system is very preoccupied with keeping accessibility front of mind right now.
So that leads me to my last question, my favorite question. I've been asked to move it from question number 1 to question number 4. So here it is. Lawyers, very powerful insiders. And through their regulator and bar associations, they can tell you guys what's on their minds, and it goes the other way as well. And so how can your system create a way so that the regular person can feel connected to your CRT? You're right. I mean, tweeting only gets you so far because it's an echo chamber. How do you do these things?
That's a really good question. I think our goal is to make the CRT an accessible and welcoming place for everybody. For some kinds of disputes, there's a presumption that people will represent themselves without a lawyer. For other kinds of disputes, people are welcome to have a lawyer as of right. But regardless, our goal is to make sure that you shouldn't have to hire a lawyer because it's so complicated that you can't understand it without a lawyer. So because of that, we've taken great measures to make sure everything is written at about a grade 6 reading level, which is the average reading level in Canada. And we do all of our user testing first and foremost around people who are vulnerable, people who might have difficulties accessing the justice system because of mental health issues, physical disabilities, language issues, a low income, geography, and so on. And when you build a system that is very focused on those folks' needs and then also focused on the needs of everyday people, and then you test last with lawyers and judges, I think you develop something like the CRT, which is meant to be very accessible to everybody. But it's not just about design, it's also about making sure that you're checking back, that you're meeting that goal. And that's one of the reasons that we survey people who have gone through the process to ask everyday people, well, how did you find it? Did we treat you fairly? Were our staff professional? Did you understand what you had to do? Did we make a decision in a timely way? Would you recommend it to somebody else? And so we're very, very interested in the experience of our parties. And we take a lot of steps to make sure we're both co-designing the process and improving it with them, but also checking back to make sure that we're meeting our mandate, which is to increase access to justice.
Thank you. So the last piece is just an opportunity for you to, if you had to say something to our viewers who are users or potential users of the CRT, is there any message you want to give to them?
Absolutely. I would just say that for so many of us right now, this is a really challenging, worrying, stressful time. We're worried about our economic well-being. We're worried about the health of the people that we love, and want you to know that the CRT and our team is very much focused on how we can make sure that our part of the justice system is as accessible and humane as possible for people going through this process. And I would encourage people to visit the website civilresolutionbc.ca if they want more information or if they're looking for tools or help. And to say that we are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help people resolve the disputes within our jurisdiction, and also just to get in touch if people do need a bit more time or they are unable, they find themselves newly unable to pay the application fee, for example. We're here to help. And we're very proud of the fact that we're able to continue to help British Columbians. And we wish everybody health and safety in the weeks and months ahead.
Well, thank you much, Shannon. I think we've concluded our interview, and it's been a wonderful first one. You certainly have made it easy.
Well, thank you, Dom, and thanks again for the invitation. And congratulations on all your good work.
Thank you, and could not have done it without your support, believe me. All right, well, I wish you have a good day, and we'll see you on the Twitter side of life.
Sounds good. Bye for now.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.